Welcome to the Sacred Resonance Podcast. I'm Reverend Larry J III, and I'm grateful you're here. Before we continue with this story, take one breath with me. In through your nose, and then out through your mouth. Just allow yourself to arrive to this moment, to this place, to this space. Now, I want to be clear about something before I tell this part of the story. The floor did not fall out immediately. For a while, San Diego was genuinely good to me. It was beautiful. I enjoyed the city. I enjoyed my neighborhood, walking my new neighborhood, learning the city, allowing this new place, this new city, this new neighborhood to hold me. I enjoyed very much being near to the water and to the ocean. I would go to the beach almost every day. I would go to read and to sit, to simply breathe, to be. There was something about the ocean that allowed my nervous system to slow down. It was something about the horizon that reminded me that I did not have to rush for clarity. I could just be. I even remember riding the trolley downtown, which may not sound like much, but if you know me, I prefer to drive. I'm not really into public transportation. And still, there I was, moving through the city, letting myself be carried by this new place. I was also in a good place academically. I was finishing my Bachelor of Science in Psychology, and I loved it. The work made sense. It felt good to be in that particular program. The learning energized me. I felt competent and grounded and engaged. And there's another part of this season that I want to name briefly and honestly, because I think it's important too. When I moved to San Diego, I went out. I went to the clubs. I was never really a club person before, but I went to probably every queer club there was in San Diego. I remember dancing to Rihanna's Talk That Talk album and feeling something loosen in my body. And I want to be precise here. It wasn't that my black queer body suddenly found some total freedom. San Diego is still very much a white city, and my blackness was still very much aware of that. This queer body, my queer body, the part of me that needed expression and rhythm and permission, that part of me could exhale. There was joy, not necessarily escapism, not necessarily excess, just movement and freedom. And the freedom I felt there lived in the same place in my body as a freedom that I once felt in the black church. When the music swelled, y'all know that feeling. When the spirit moved, when my body didn't have to explain itself, it could just be. That season in the club didn't last long, though. I'm an introvert at heart. I tired of the clubs quickly, but I don't dismiss it. It was a part of my becoming. It was a moment where my body learned something important. That joy is not frivolous, and freedom doesn't always come fully formed. Sometimes joy and freedom comes in pieces. And sometimes those pieces are enough to get you moving. And I want to say this plainly as well. I had real joy in San Diego, real pleasure, real moments of peace. So this isn't a story of immediate rather, unraveling. It's a story of life happening. Life happens, and then changes come. So a few months into my time in San Diego, small cracks begin to show. Not everything at once, but it was mostly quietly. The building I lived in, the brand new building, it was new. It was brand new. Shiny, clean, modern, tiny. It was a tiny apartment. Anyway, it was a new apartment, and the building told us that the internet speed was high speed. They told us that the phone service was strong, and neither turned out to be true. The Wi-Fi signal dropped constantly. Calls failed, internet lagged, systems froze, and my job was a remote position, which I needed the internet. I needed phone service. And so with this internet fading and calls dropping, that made my work almost impossible to do. Now remember, this job is allowed me to move, right? Um, that same job requires speed, clarity, and constant connection. And at first I thought it was me. So I reset routers, I called the support lines, I tried different corners of my small apartment. Yeah, I know the apartment was small if you've been there. I tried working different times of the day. Every workaround I could think about, I tried. But nothing changed. And this is important too. Again, this life, there wasn't malice. This wasn't some sort of injustice. It was a mismatch. The building wasn't equipped for the demands of my particular job. And the job wasn't flexible enough for the limitations of the building. And here I was, stuck in the middle. All of this is happening while I'm still in school, reading, writing, thinking, holding academic rigor alongside this growing instability. I was carrying a lot at once. A new city, a demanding job, school, financial responsibility, emotional healing, the relationship I was telling you about, and also a body that was growing tired in ways I didn't know how to name yet. Doing the best I could with what I had, right? And still my best wasn't enough to keep that job. Around Christmas time, I don't remember if it was Christmas Eve or Christmas Day. It's one of those days. I was let go. No explosion, no drama. It was professional and clean. And still, the floor fell out. And I think there's something uniquely disorienting about losing stability far from home. Had no family nearby, no familiar rhythms, no easy place to land. And I want to say this because I think this is also important. I'm an introvert. If you know me, you know I'm an introvert. And that's, again, not surprising to anyone who knows me. But one of the lessons that San Diego taught me is that introversion does not mean you don't need people. In Indianapolis, my family was always close. If I needed companionship or company, conversation, or presence, I had easy access. That wasn't true here in San Diego. I hadn't built those relationships yet. I didn't have this deep sense of community in place. And even introverts get lonely. We do. We get lonely. And loneliness doesn't mean that we are failing at life. It simply means that we are human. Now, people did visit. Mama B and a cousin came out to visit. A friend came out to visit. Family showed up when they could. But there is a difference between visits, right, and then being rooted in community. And when the job ended, that difference became sharper. I felt more alone. I had bills, rent, utilities, a car payment, insurance. I remember borrowing money from folks, which is also something I don't like to do, right? But my family was helping where they could. And I remember this vividly. It was around this time that I was fired. I received a card in the mail from my grandmother. Um, and inside that card was the money. Grandma came through. She couldn't necessarily slip the money in my hand, but she mailed me a card. And that was unexpected. I know it was around Christmas time, but I still didn't expect that particular gift. It was quiet, deeply appreciated. And I'm not telling that part of the story to make it neat. The collapse, the falling, the floor falling underneath my feet was very much real. But even in the midst of it, there were still these moments of grace. Not necessarily explanations, not solutions to problems, but support, presence in ways that were not necessarily physical, but still moments of grace. And I won't theologize that. I just want to name it. I did a little bit of theologizing, but I don't want to do too much of that. So months passed in San Diego without work. I did my best to tighten expenses, was looking for work, picked up a little bit of work where I could, continued to pray, and not the performative prayer or the prayers that we sometimes pray because we feel like it is a thing to do. Well, I was praying those honest prayers, those help me prayers, right? And eventually I did find another job, community organizing. And on paper, that job made sense. It was faith-based community organizing. It was justice-oriented, people-centered, values-driven. And even as an introvert, I really enjoy helping people and being with people. And so, again, on paper, it was a good job, good fit. But in practice, it wasn't really safe. Racial dynamics were unspoken, but very much present. Sometimes expectations shifted without warning. Support was there, but also inconsistent, right? I think in many ways my voice felt tolerated, but not honored. And we can feel the difference. So once again, I found myself in a place that could not fully hold me for different reasons, but the same results. More breaking, right? More the sense of the floor falling out underneath my feet. And the loneliness, it deepened, not dramatic, right? Not necessarily loud, just quiet. You're just lonely. And I think it reminded me that becoming is not romantic, right? It's holy and it's costly. Becoming it costs us something. And I'll pause here because I know that if you said yes to something and then a month later or a couple of months later everything began to unravel, you are not late. You are not foolish. You are not faithless. Sometimes the collapse doesn't come immediately. Sometimes the collapse comes when you've settled in enough to actually feel the loss. And in this part of the story, nothing rose yet. I didn't have any answers. I didn't have language. I didn't have a plan. Like I tried to have a plan, but I didn't really have a plan. Because how do you plan for that kind of loss? This point of the story, I was just there. I was still breathing, still paying attention, and still waiting. If you are in a season where stability has shifted, I want to invite you to notice something simple. Where have you still experienced beauty, even if things are hard? Not meaning, not explanation, just beauty. Where have you experienced beauty? Just allow that experience of beauty to be enough for today. Sometimes the breaking does not erase what's good. It simply asks you to hold both joy and loss at the same time. And we can do that. If this resonates with you, you're welcome to stay connected at sacredresonance.co. And next time, I will talk about what it meant to stay, to remain present when clarity did not come quickly, and when community had to be rebuilt slowly. Another story for another day. But until then, be gentle with yourself.